Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my review of the Delux M800 Pro. This is a wireless mouse with a 3370 sensor, comes in at 70 grams, and it is very Razer-esque, very Viper-esque when you initially look at this, but it's not quite as long, quite as large as a Viper V2. It's not quite as small as a Viper Mini, although it is a nice in-between that does get a little bit closer to the Viper Mini. If you are looking for a Viper Mini wireless, this could be worth the try, especially right now. The mouse is on sale for $40 on Amazon. This is a review unit. It was sent out to me, and full disclosure, the box was open when I did receive the package. So whether or not the unit was cherry-picked, whether or not the consistency, at least as far as my copy is concerned, as far as build quality, I don't know if that consistency would be there throughout the line. I don't know if the ones on Amazon will have better build quality, worse build quality. I can only review the one unit that was sent to me from Delux themselves, but I do want to get into a few of the quirky issues that I ran into and whether or not I think this mouse would be worth it at its respective price point out of all the wireless mice on the market. Let's get into it. And next to the Viper V2, you can see it's not something nearly as long as the Viper V2, and it doesn't flare out towards the back as wide as the Viper V2. The hump almost feels like it comes a little bit higher, if not the same as the Viper V2 at its highest point. The coating on the Delux M800 is not nearly as texturized as the Viper V2. It is a lot smoother and almost thinner, I would say, than the Viper V2. And that is something to take into consideration because it will feel a little bit slippery at times, especially with the plastic side texturized surface instead of something like a rubber. Easily something that you can rectify with third-party grips like Corpads or BTLs, but that is something to kind of factor into the price. I never really had too much of an issue with that in-game. And you can see that the skates that come default on the mouse are that default black type of skate. It is not a 100% virgin PTFE, so that is also something that you can factor into the price if you want to upgrade. I didn't feel the skates to be horrible as far as a glide experience, but certainly something that I myself would upgrade. In terms of overall build quality, my side flex is minimal. You can feel the switch as you are grinding or moving the plastic in-game. It's not really too much of an issue that threw me off. Scroll wheel feels fine. Mouse 3 is spammable and tactile. You do feel a little bit of rattle with mouse 1 and mouse 2, the plastic over the switches when you are spamming them. As far as pre and post travel, there is a bit of pre-travel with the plastic and just a bit of post travel on both mouse 1 and mouse 2. And the side switches don't feel the most tactile. When you are pushing mouse 4 and mouse 5 down with a little bit of force, you do kind of push that plastic deep into the cavity of the mouse, and it just doesn't really feel all that great. Now, in terms of the performance in-game, I do want to go over my first impressions of how I felt with the mouse in Apex Legends on stream, but things that you can change in the software, things that I definitely recommend changing. The DPI deviation on the mouse is pretty significant. At 800 DPI, the mouse felt around 1000 DPI, but good thing is in the software you can customize the DPI, and I did turn it down to 650. I think the DPI can be customized all the way through 19,000. I don't know why anybody would go up to 19,000, and the polling rate can be changed in the software, but you cannot change the debounce time, the click time, in the software. So that is something to definitely mention. Battery life and power, I've used this mouse significantly. I'm still at 92%, so I don't think there's really any issues with the battery life, the efficiency of that 3370 with the RGB on. So that's something that is a nice feature of the mouse. Now, as far as performance, for $40, if you are looking for an in-between of the Viper V2, the Viper Mini, this is a pretty solid shape. The weight and weight balance, it actually, to me, feels a little bit lighter than 70 grams based on probably multifactorial, the shape, the weight balance. The weight balance doesn't feel perfectly balanced to me. It does feel a little bit more butt heavy. But in terms of how it feels in game while tracking, I didn't have any issues at all. I do think that the performance of the mouse is actually pretty good. Shape feels good. And I mean, I was able to absolutely shred with this mouse in Apex Legends. So right now for $40 on Amazon, it is not something that is a poor mouse by any means. Again, a few quirky issues with the build quality. It doesn't feel like a pristine S-tier type experience. But again, at $40, it definitely feels like a budget mouse, but performs pretty damn solid. So guys, my overall conclusion for this mouse is if you can actually pick this thing up on sale for around $40 like it is on Amazon right now, it's not a poor experience at all. Do I prefer this over something like the Orochi V2? Personally, I think the Orochi V2 still feels like a more complete experience to me. I have a better time, a more pristine feeling with the Orochi V2, which I think is on sale right now for around 30 bucks as well. So you kind of have to pick and choose. If you're okay with a iffy build quality, kind of budget feeling Kmart, Walmart type experience, the Delux M800 definitely has that feel. But again, it has the performance that kind of counteracts that budget feel, in my opinion. And at $40, if you're really looking for a nice performing wireless experience in a shape that is kind of an in-between of the Viper Pro and the Viper Mini, it definitely is a pretty interesting mouse. Again, I shredded on it. I didn't have really much of a negative experience in-game as far as the click feel, the side buttons for tracking in Apex. I think if you're kind of spamming the side buttons, they really do feel bad. So if you're playing something like a top-down like Diablo 3 and you're using those side buttons a lot, you're playing a MOBA, that is definitely something to pay attention to. The side buttons really do feel really bad when you are spamming them a lot. In terms of everything else, though, everything can kind of be looked past, in my opinion, at $40. Again, if this mouse was like $80, I probably would not recommend you go into this over other things on the market like the Pulsar series, which is also $80. There's a whole wide array of wireless mice right now that are really, really good at that price point of $80. But for $40 right now, the Delux M800 is a pretty good mouse for 40 bucks. I hope that helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.